Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. Okay, I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Thanks for jumping aboard with us here. A magnificent Sunday for Jay Johnson and the LSU baseball program. The MLB network coverage of the draft was basically total LSU takeover. We had heard Jay Johnson was going to be part of the MLB draft coverage. I didn't realize he was going to be on the set for the entire 4 hours. That was a 4-hour recruiting pitch. I mean, Jay either coached every player taken, coached against every player taken, or recruited every player taken. It was kind of incredible. And then, of course, the results of the draft with Paul Skenes going 1, Dylan Cruz going 2, Ty Floyd selected number 38, and then Grant Taylor going 51. So Blake Mitchell, the catcher out of Texas, went 8th overall to Kansas City. Bye-bye. The one surprise, Cameron Johnson, the lefty, was not taken. So we'll get into all of that. I'll kind of reset everything for everybody who maybe kind of casually watched the draft or heard a little bit. We'll kind of reset that. So, okay. Congrats to Paul Skenes. Congrats to the Pittsburgh Pirates for not screwing it up. Pittsburgh could have very easily done what Pittsburgh does. And listen, seriously, congrats to them for pulling off a pretty good rope-a-dope. I mean, all of the odds makers yesterday had Wyatt Langford as the betting favorite to go number 1. And that was a dramatic shift, And all of the people who put out their mock drafts and everything all had either Langford or Max Clark going number 1. Essentially showing that Pittsburgh was trying to make a deal and sign somebody for under slot because they felt like, look, there's 4 or 5 guys worthy of being the first overall pick. Let's take whichever one we can get for the cheapest. And that was sort of the prevailing wisdom that they were going to do. I mean, I don't know anybody in Pittsburgh, but I certainly know that odds makers and people who are following that thing do. So, congrats to Pittsburgh for not screwing it up. They take Paul Skenes number 1, and of course Dylan Cruz went number 2 to Washington. So LSU becomes the first program ever to have teammates go 1-2 in an MLB draft, and they also become the first college athletic department ever to have the number 1 pick in football, NFL, NBA, MLB, and WNBA. Incredible. Incredible. Okay. Let's say some good mornings. I'll get to your questions. We'll kind of reset the day. So, of course, Skenes, Cruz go 1-2. Ty Floyd went 38, although his slot value at 38 is still over $2 million. I'll tell you what it is exactly. Give me 1 second. So his slot value at 38 is, $2.255 million. So what a great story, right? I mean, the guy comes to school, wasn't drafted out of high school. Of course, it was COVID, but comes to school, pitched late in the season as a freshman, really struggled to find his breaking pitch as a sophomore, 90% fastballs, and this year really just absolutely accelerated. And then he'll get $2.25 million. Now, what I was told yesterday, because initially, so right before the draft started yesterday, maybe about an hour before the draft, I got a phone call and was told, look, Ty Floyd is a virtual lock. So I tweeted this, by the way, that Floyd was a virtual lock to go in round one, which he did. It was in the sandwich picks, but still in round one. And that Grant Taylor was going to sign, was going to get picked and was going to sign. So, there was the spots that made the most sense were the Braves at 24 and the Astros at 28. The Braves ended up going with Hurston Waldrop at 24. And you can kind of understand that. They probably didn't think Waldrop would be there, so they went with Waldrop. The Astros at 28, from as best I can gather, were trying to get Floyd to sign for underslot. So he said no. And so the Astros went a different direction. To see if that proves out, let's see, what the Astros pick at 28 signs for. Because if it's under slot value, that'll tell you what happened to Floyd. So Floyd went 38, 10 picks later, 38 to Cincinnati, where his slot value is 225, which is still great. And then Grant Taylor went 51 to the White Sox. Slot value there is $1.6 million. So kind of what I was told before the draft was, Taylor, who at the beginning of the season was a top 5 arm in the draft, in this class, if he were healthy, probably would have commanded in the neighborhood of $4 million in this draft, middle of round one. And his representation was still pushing to see what his value was. And I guess ultimately when you call every team and find out what the value is of your scouts and find out what the consensus is, it was just north of $1 million. I was actually told he would agree to 1.2, to be very frank. And that he was going to, and that someone was going to take him because, and so if you're Grant Taylor, you look at it 2 ways. You could either come back to LSU and try to pitch this year, and if you do and you pitch really well, you could be a top half of round one guy and make between $4 and $8 million. You could. Or you could come back to LSU and still not be ready to pitch this year, and then you've lost all your leverage. So for a guy that had Tommy John and still it didn't throw a pitch this year, to command a 7-figure bonus is pretty impressive. So it's hard to fault him for that, but that's essentially what happened there. Okay, let's say some good mornings here. Thank y'all for being there so much. YouTube, please smash that like button. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Appreciate y'all. Damon Gilmore, Ethan Davidson, good morning. Pat Huseman, what's going on? Michael Huffpants, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Brian Penn, Julia Kaolelapono, good morning. Weston Weaver, Juan, good morning. We need a new car. I'm trying to decide between the Atlas and the Tiguan. What are your thoughts? Atlas is bigger. I would say if you don't need a third row, I would say look at the Atlas Cross Sport and say that. So I had an Atlas, and Erica has an Atlas, and ultimately I traded in my Atlas for a Cross Sport, which takes out the third row. So my third row just stayed folded down all the time. Atlas is going to have more bells and whistles, a little bit bigger. Tiguan is kind of your compact SUV one, but both are great cars. My suggestion would be that if you could swing it money-wise, I would go Atlas Cross Sport, unless if you need the third row, get the Atlas. Larry Garner, good morning. Phil Smith, good morning. Dalton Barnett, good morning. Headed to Laredo. Okay, well, happy to keep you company for a little bit. Jesse Brown, Hunter Broadhead, Tim Gotro, what's up, y'all? Yeah, Julia said, can't wait to see Trey Morgan's name called. Yeah, so if you're looking toward today, Trey Morgan and Jordan Thompson will be next. and both are expected to go within the first 5 rounds. So you pick up today with rounds 3 through 10. And so, in those first 60 picks or so, there is a compensatory round B after round. No, I'm sorry, that was after round 2. So there's round 3 and then round 4. So within the next 60 picks, you should hear Morgan and Thompson's name called. Let's see, Cajun Country. Good morning. I'm reaching here, but Cam Johnson has not been drafted yet. Yeah, so I mentioned Blake Mitchell. Blake Mitchell was the catcher out of Texas who went number 8 overall, so he's not showing up. The 2 players who are LSU signees, it was just widely assumed they would be first rounders, and there's no way they show up, were Blake Mitchell, the catcher out of Texas who went 8th overall, and Cameron Johnson. Cameron Johnson is a lefty, sits 95, is touched 97, 98, and is at IMG Academy down in Florida. He was not picked yesterday. And what that tells me is he had a very high slot value number and no one was willing to pay it. So there's a couple of scenarios that could unfold today. Either he stays true to his number and says, if I don't get it, I'm going to school. Okay. Which is a dream scenario for LSU. Or some team who agreed to a deal early in the draft has extra money and can overpay for Cam Johnson at this point of the draft. And that's my guess that's what's going to happen. Someone's going to look at a guy who's a lefty throwing 98 and go, all right, well, the kid wanted $3 million. I'm throwing out a number. I don't know what his number is. And he ain't going to get that. And now you're at this point in the draft where you're talking about bonus pools around, let's see, 3rd round slot is, so the first pick here of round 3 is the Nationals at 71 overall. And their slot is 1.021 million. So do you tell Cameron Johnson, hey, look, I know your number was 3. Slot value here is 1. We'll give you 2. You want $2 million? Again, this is just hypothetical. I don't know that. And he may say yes. Does he stay true to his number? Does he say, I want X amount, and if I don't get it, I'm going to school? Like that happens. I mean, that's what happened with Dylan Cruz. That's what happened with Alex Bregman. Bregman said, if I'm not taking round 1, I'm going to school. And he was serious. Cruz had his number, and he came to school. So it happens, and the fact that Cameron Johnson is out there after pick 70 makes you go, all right, well, is someone going to step up and pay that kid today? My guess is someone will, but it's at least a conversation worth having. I'll tell you, the other 2 players worth watching today are Stephen Milam and Ashton Larson. Those are 2 guys that I was told Friday were 50-50 guys. Like, those are the ones you're going to sweat out. Like, you were going to lose Mitchell and Johnson. You're sweating out Milam and Larson. So we'll see. Ryan Amanda Guidry, Kelly Gross, good morning. Sam Dixon, good morning. Let's see. Bart St. Germain, Trey Potan, what's going on? Kirk Taylor, Dale Broussard, Bob Poole, Bubba Smith, John Ellis, good morning, good morning, good morning. Darren Gagnon, huge day for LSU baseball. Looks like Grant Taylor may sign. Bummer, selfishly holding out, hope he may not sign. No, Darren, so listen. Again, this is the other thing. Darren, he's 100% gone. That's what you got to understand. I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to repeat it again because there's still misunderstanding about it. In the first 10 rounds, 99% of the players in the first 10 rounds end up signing because that's where the bonus pool commitments come into play. So we talk about slot values and all that stuff. So when you hear a player taken in the first 10 rounds, they're signing. The rare exceptions are Kumar Rocker, where he and the Mets agree to a number, And ultimately, he goes to a physical, and then they're like, we don't like this. We're going to give you less. And he's like, I'm not taking less. And so then he doesn't sign, and then they maintain his rights for a year, and then whatever. So no. So, like, Grant Taylor is gone. The fact that he heard his name called at 51 tells you the White Sox called him and said, will you take this? He said yes, and that's it. So he's gone. Michael Cook, Earl, good morning. Dad, good morning. Jamie Leday, what's going on? Barry Day, good morning. Jerry DeLucky, good morning. Between Jay being on set of MLB all night and the high draft picks, the exposure LSU got last night. Oops. Was priceless. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if y'all weren't here right at the very start of the show, I said I knew Jay was going to be on the broadcast. I didn't know he was going to be on the whole broadcast. And that was crazy. I mean, he's up there for 4 hours. And by the way, he did great too. Like, especially with how rapid fire the picks come in the MLB, you don't have a lot of time to make a point about a pick. And Jay did really well. I was like, hey, man, don't be too good at this. Come on, man. I don't need you where you are. Simmer down now. Anyway, let's see. All right, let's see. Ryan DeLon. Morning, Matt. Is Taylor all but gone being drafted? Yes, he's gone. I know you probably asked that after I explained it, but yes, he's gone. Again, if you hear a player's name taken yesterday or today, they're signing. Okay, like that's the most basic way I can say it. First 10 rounds are where you have the slot values. If a player is taken in the first 10 rounds, they're signing, it's gone. It takes a really, really weird circumstance for a deal to fall apart. Dale Broussard is Jake Brown expected to sign. He is expected to end up at LSU. So, and they're excited about him. He's a two-way guy out of Sulphur, and he's expected to end up on campus. He's, I think, right around or just outside the top 100 overall prospects in this draft, but they're expecting him to be on campus. Ryan Thibodeau, what's up? Jason Horn, good morning. From LaGuardia, okay, heading back home. There you go, man. Safe travels, safe travels. Trey Potan said thoughts on UFC 290. Trey, Saturday was my birthday. We went out Saturday night, and I did not see the fights. I'm bummed because a lot of people here yesterday were telling me it was one of the best cards in a long time. Usually is, man. That International Fight Week is always massive. I've gone up to Vegas a couple times for it around my birthday. So my birthday's the 8th, so that's always the weekend, the 4th of July weekend when they do International Fight Week. So I usually load up the card, and it rarely disappoints. Rick Manuel, what's going on? The LSU baseball brand has never been stronger. I mean, I could argue 5 titles in 10 years kind of plays, but I understand your point, Rick. You're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Paul Herbert, good morning from Denham Springs. All right. Let's see. Joey Metke, Spurge, what's going on? 1 and 2. Can't wait to see what that means for the future. Let's go. Reed Rule, good morning. Pat Huseman. Let's see. Pirates look to me that they're 1 and 2 pitchers away from contention. So Skenes, in my opinion, was the right choice. Well, Pat, I mean, I think everybody said, like, Skenes. I mean, you have a chance to take a generational pitcher, you do it. Because especially if you're Pittsburgh, you're never going to draft that. You're never going to be able to sign that guy in free agency, right? So that's kind of the point. It's like if you're Pittsburgh, if Skenes in 6 years goes to unrestricted free agency and signs a deal for $500 million, $400 million, Pittsburgh's never going to pay that. So you never have the opportunity to get Paul Skenes on your roster unless you draft him. So you say, do we save $1 million or do we take the generational talent? Well, they made the right decision. You take the generational talent. Phil Smith, congratulations, the Tigers selected. Hopefully a couple more go today. Do you expect anyone selected draft-wise after Trey goes? Yeah, so again, Trey Morgan, Jordan Thompson will be next. Today, it's the other players that you'll look at today. I know y'all are going to roll your eyes at this, but Christian Little will probably get picked today just because you have a lively arm, and someone's going to look at the talent and say, I can harness that. So Christian Little, you could see Blake Money go today for a similar reason. Unless if there's someone obvious I'm missing, that's probably it for today, which would be great. And then you really then day 3 comes down to you're just pulling for you're pulling for Dugas and Jobert and Beloso and Milazzo and Travinsky and you're just pulling for a best case for all those guys on day 3. But today, you're really looking at Thompson, Morgan, Thompson, Little, most likely today. And then, as I mentioned, the 3 prospects with Cam Johnson, what happens to him today, Stephen Milam and Ashton Larson. That's probably what you're looking at today. Cliff Nelson, good morning. Cruise to the Yankees in 4 years after the Nationals let him walk. I don't think it's going to be 4 years. It's probably going to be more like 6. But yes, I'm here, Cliff. I'm here for it, dog. I'm here for it. Kirk Taylor, Mike the Tiger, 2023 National Champs. Good morning, Brian Wynn. Let's see. Let's hope Pittsburgh doesn't waste Paul Skenes. I don't know how you'd waste him. You know what I mean? He's him. He goes and shoves for you, and that's a team. The real interesting thing with Pittsburgh is, and a lot of people talked about this before the draft, so this isn't like a unique thought, but Pittsburgh here at the All-Star break is 41-49, so they're 8 games under 500. But if they made a push for the playoffs, which no, not at 41-49. Yeah, I guess there was a time, forgive me, I don't watch a lot of Pittsburgh Pirates baseball, but there was a time where they were at least in the conversation potentially for the wild card, and they are not now. 3, yeah. So, where maybe the point was maybe they would have used Skenes out of the bullpen this year if they drafted him. But yeah, I don't see that scenario. All right, couple more. Antron Hemingway, good morning. SEC Media Days a week from today. We leave on Sunday, and SEC Media Days is a week from today. Brian Kelly and LSU go on day 1 as well. So 1 week from today. Kirk Taylor, Matt, can I send you an advertising opportunity? Our high school football program is selling ads for the program. Being new to Lafayette, figured you'd be interested. Yeah, you can fire away, Kirk. Usually, though, media doesn't the way that generally with media it would be like trade is how that happens, like as media partners. But sure, yeah, send me what you got. Reed Rule, glad the Astros didn't get Floyd. Those boos were definitely when Manfred announced her pick. You know what, Reed? I'm glad you brought that up. I hated that. And Manfred, look, I get it. He's a villain to all the fans of the sport, and I get why. And they booed him mercilessly. But the thing that did suck is when that kid was picked. So the reason the boos got so loud for that one is it was the last pick Manfred was going to announce. So they were serenading him with a chorus of boos. But for that kid now, forever, whenever he listens to his draft announcement, it's just raining boos during it. So that sucks. And I'm sure that's Manfred made a face like, come on, guys. I mean, I think that was the reason why. So, you're detracting from that kid's moment. You know what I mean? Brendan Wallace, good morning. Jared Weems, love that shirt. Thanks, man. Yeah, actually, a gift from mother-in-law and father-in-law. Erica's folks gave me this little Southern Marsh. Beautiful. It's like performance gear. Yeah, it's really, really nice shirt. Very comfortable. Let's see. Trivia Carter, good morning. Robbie White, morning, Matt. I know you're not big on percentage predictions, but prediction Chase Burns ends up at LSU. Robbie, 2 weeks ago, I would have told you 90%, but it has been really quiet on that front. And I had a conversation. I don't know if y'all listen to AFR on Friday, but on Friday I told y'all there were 2 pitchers that LSU was going after. Luke Holman from Alabama and Gage Jump from UCLA. And on Friday night, they got Gage Jump to commit. He's a lefty from UCLA. So I know that Chase Burns was an LSU TCU battle, and I hope he ends up here, but it probably makes sense for him as well to wait to see how the draft plays out, to see who's going to end up where and what prospects are going to sign and all that. So he's got tons of, he'll have opportunities to do what he wants to do, but been a little surprisingly quiet there with Chase Burns over the last week or so. Leon Williams, Tiger Diver, Brad David, was LSU baseball popular before Skip got to LSU? No. I mean, it was friends and family at the ballpark before Skip came in 1984. And he birthed it. He birthed the Giant. Brian Ashcraft, good morning. Good friend of mine was drafted by the Mets in round 12, but got 7-round slot money to sign. Didn't sign some high school arms. Yeah, it happens. It was Jacob DeGrom. That happens. But remember also, the draft has shrunk now. It's 20 rounds now instead of 50 or whatever it used to be. So, and they've contracted the minor. They've taken one of the levels out of minor league ball as well. So there are fewer opportunities as well for some marginal players now too. Lars Corville, let's see. My next door neighbor, Rocky Roush, coached for LSU in the early 80s. You could come and go as you wanted during the games. LSU baseball is nothing. Yeah, our PE teacher at MBS when I was a kid was Janet LeMabe. Her husband was Jack LeMabe, who was the coach before Skip. Okay, Kenneth Kyle, when does Musso get his own show? Guy's going to be a stud. Yeah, it'll happen for Musso. Just got to be patient, man. Carl Ritter, Kenneth Kyle, who do you look forward to talking to most next week? I hope we get a chance. I hope they bring Jaden Daniels, and I hope we get a chance to talk to him. I'd love that to do one-on-one with Jaden. Carl Ritter, Matt, who got drafted last night besides Skenes, Cruz, Taylor, and Floyd. So that's it among the current players. And then Blake Mitchell, one of LSU's signees, went 8th overall. So bye-bye. All right. Day 2 of the draft. Anything else? As always, y'all shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Brock Rock and Wine. Brock Rock and Wine is coming up on July 29th. Get your tickets at brortho.com, brortho.com. And of course, Hudco Roofing, hudcoroofing.com. So if you've got any roof issues or know someone who might, we'd love to help you out. Hudco Roofing, hudcoroofing.com. Hudco's pinned in the chat. Okay, so the draft day 2 starts at 1 Central today. So you'll have rounds 3 through 10 today. Yeah. Okay, well, that says stream all 9 rounds. Well, it's 8 rounds. And there's 1 minute between picks, so it goes fast today. I mean, they just churn through picks. We're starting at 1 o'clock. So my recommendation is, if you're not going to watch the coverage, at least have the MLB draft Twitter account is fantastic. They keep the picks going rapid fire. So like follow on the MLB draft Twitter account. Okay, it's 8:02. I got to go. Got to get Drew up. Got to get him to St. Lillian today. So thanks so much for watching. Please, YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe up if you haven't done so yet. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We'll see you. Peace.